Hey there, Fletcher from All Things Overlanding here, and today I wanted to talk a little bit about overlanding and sustainability and how we can keep these places open, right? Like, that's the main thing is we all enjoy coming out here, getting connected with nature, kind of getting away from the strains and stresses of life. But in order to do that, we all have to take more responsibility. We have to be able to step up and kind of clean up after other people that aren't as responsible, unfortunately. So today I'm going to talk about that. So stay tuned for more on that. All right, guys. So as I mentioned in the intro, today I'm talking about overlanding and sustainability. I've spent a pretty good amount of time at this current campsite. First of all, I pulled up and the fire was still burning. No one here. So that is one thing. Make sure you put out your fire completely, right? Like, it's kind of common sense stuff when you really think about it. And I do not by any means mean to make this like episode super preachy or anything like that. I'm from Indiana. We are pretty historically irresponsible with our natural resources. So I do want to like put that out there from the beginning that like, I've not always been perfect, right? When I was a kid, I chopped down trees. I did stuff that was stupid now that I realize, but I didn't know better back then, which is why I wanted to make this video/podcast is to sort of make people think a little bit about the fact that we are sort of borrowing this land, right? We're able to take advantage of it because our taxes afford us that ability, right? Like it is our land. We own it because it's federal land and we pay taxes. However, we also have a responsibility to take care of it and to keep it open because otherwise they're going to have to close these places down. If we can't be responsible, if we can't take care of the environment, then it's just not sustainable for us to be able to continue to come out and camp for free in these dispersed spots. So again, I wanted to touch on that a little bit today, and I wanted to kind of run you guys through some ideas for how to be a little bit more responsible when you go out overlanding or camping. I've picked up a probably like 30, 40, different size shells, that sort of thing today for my campsite. I've just got a whole handful of them. And that's part of what we need to do, right? So as annoying as it may be when you come out here and you see all this trash everywhere and you're like, man, why do these people do it? We all think that it's wrong, right? We all agree that it is stupid to throw trash on the ground to just pollute up and destroy the national forest. Because it's our land, we need to take care of it like it's our land, right? So what I'm saying is when you come out, it's a great practice to just bring a trash bag. I've got one hanging on a tree stump over here to my right. And I go around the campsite. Before I ever set anything up, before I do anything to camp here myself, I walk around and I look for bottles. I look for cans. I look for shell casings. I look for any sort of trash that may be laying around. Stuff in the fire pit. A lot of times people, for some reason, burn metal in the fire pit. I don't know why. But there was like a piece of metal, like a random bracket or something in the fire pit. I picked that up before I got the fire stoked up. Again, it was burning when I came in, but it was just sort of smoldering. I grabbed that piece of metal out, threw that in the trash, and then picked up all these shell casings and stuff before I ever set up my stuff. And I'm not trying to toot my own horn. I'm just saying like that's a good best practice. When you come to a campsite and you want to take advantage of the national forest and kind of, this dispersed camping that we get to enjoy, just clean up the campsite, walk around, clean it up a little bit. If you're driving down the road, I had a trail ride that I was on not too long ago where we were driving down the road and I literally saw an entire bag of like fast food thrown to the side of the road. And I actually stopped our whole convoy. I was like, hey, time out, guys, get on the radio, the GMRS. I'm like, time out, guys, I got to pick this up. And, at that time I was in my old rig. I had my big, trash bag on the back. I got out, I picked it up, I threw it in my trash bag, that sort of stuff. If you see something, especially something that egregious, right, something that big that is just sort of thrown to the side of the road, yes, it takes a second. It takes a little bit of personal fortitude to sort of like stop your whole trip and get out and clean that up. But it makes a big impact, right? Like I think DNR appreciates that. I think that, the Forestry Service folks appreciate us coming out and sort of helping them. Like they can't do all this by themselves, right? It's just not possible. So we need to support them. We need to appreciate our surroundings, appreciate the fact that we get access to this beautiful, natural environment for free. And kind of my payment in exchange for that is to clean up when I come out here, right? So I just wanted to bring that up. When you get to camp, first thing, walk around your campsite, pick up any trash that you see, check out the fire pit, make sure there's nothing junky thrown in there. Check the trees for nails screwed into them or pounded into them. Pull those out if you can, if you've got the tools to do it. just kind of clean up around, right? Like try and keep these campsites taken care of. All right, so next point is your own stuff, right? Like aside from other people leaving their trash and kind of making a mess, you have to not contribute to the problem, right? So when you come out, have a bumper mounted or a spare tire mounted or a tailgate mounted trash bag with you, or at least have like a plastic trash bag that you intend to keep all your trash in. Clean up after yourself, put everything in the trash bag. Make sure that you don't leave it worse than you found it, right? Whatever you pack in, you need to pack that back out. That's just kind of the expectation when it comes to overlanding, kind of dispersed camping like this. Whatever you bring in, you need to bring it back out with you. You need to clean up after yourself and leave it better than you found it. That's kind of a tenet of overlanding and dispersed camping. Next, one thing that I wanted to talk about a little bit. I'm sitting in the middle of this site and there are multiple trees chopped down. Is it fun to use a chainsaw? Sure. Is it fun to use an axe? Sure. Should you come into a campsite in a national forest or some sort of dispersed camping area and just randomly walk around and chop down live trees? Absolutely not. Like that's not okay, right? If it's like a dead tree that's fallen over and is leaning against another tree, that's a little different, right? If you're just chopping up firewood, that's okay. But we're not Paul Bunyan, right? Like we're not here to prove our worth and our ability to be a logger, right? Like that's not what these trees are for. They're not for chopping down just for fun. Like there are a number of trees that are literally laying on their sides around me that have not been chopped up. They were not cut up for firewood or anything like that. They aren't dead trees. They're big live trees, and they've just been chopped down for no reason. So again, being responsible, respecting the environment, respecting, where you are and not treating it like it's your personal playground is pretty important. And then lastly, let's talk a little bit about education, right? I've had this channel for a few years and I don't talk a ton about sustainability or tread lightly. And the only reason is because I feel like I'm not an expert, right? Like I get worried a lot of the times where I'm like, did I do something wrong because of this or that, right? Like if I dipped off the trail or the road into like a ditch and it was a muddy rut and I sunk into it and I churned it up, right? Did I do something wrong? So I do have a lot of like, not imposter syndrome, right? But like just sort of like fear around that as someone that creates content for people on the internet. I don't ever want to be viewed as someone that is intentionally or unintentionally causing damage to the environment, but there are so many ways that you can accidentally do that or do it without any intent, right? An example would be putting nails in trees and things like that, which I know is wrong, but like I come out to these campsites quite a bit and you just see screws and nails pounded into every tree and they used it to hang up their trash bag or they used it to hang up a line to dry clothes on or something, right? Like, so where I'm going with this though is that like even if someone makes a mistake, that doesn't mean you need to tear them apart. It doesn't mean that you need to go crazy and make them feel really, really bad. It's an educational opportunity, right? And that is why I'm making this video, is I want to make sure that you guys and girls that are new and just sort of getting into this thing, that's a thought in your mind, right? Like at least you're considering it when you go out. You're not just like having a good time and shooting your guns off and shell casings are flying everywhere and you're throwing beer bottles into the woods and stuff and you just don't realize that that's not an okay thing. So that's kind of part of what I wanted to bring up in this video, right? Or this podcast is the educational piece is important. And I have a YouTube channel and that's why I'm trying to do it here, but it kind of falls to all of us, right? We all kind of have to, when we bring out our friends, if we know a friend that's less responsible than us, we need to make sure that they aren't a jerk, right? That they aren't throwing trash out into the woods, that they aren't throwing metal into the fire, etc. We need to make sure that we're educating people and making sure that they know that that's not okay. So again, I hope that those tips were good and helpful for a lot of you. If you haven't really been dispersed camping, if you've only been to like campgrounds where there's literally like a dumpster and you just dump your trash in, that's really easy. Out here, that's not an option, right? You're in the middle of the wilderness. You're camping far away from people. I think it just gets tempting for people sometimes to get lazy or to be kind of jerks and throw stuff into the woods, but it really can ruin it for everybody. And it's really important that we all work hard and take care of the environment and try and maintain the environment for future generations and for future people that come out here to enjoy the dispersed camping. So again, I hope that was helpful for you. I would love to hear from you guys. I'd love feedback. I'd love your thoughts. I'd love if you kind of come out to campsites and find, just handfuls and handfuls of shell casings and, bullets and stuff everywhere. Post up and let me know, I know that there are a lot of local folks here in Indiana that post up on local Facebook groups and stuff all the time that are like, I went out and I collected an entire trash bag worth of stuff at this one campsite. So again, just wanted to kind of make this video to bring it up and make sure that especially newer people that are listening to this understand the responsibility and the importance of that thing. Hope it was helpful. If it was, click that like button. If you're not already, click that subscribe button, click the bell to be notified when new videos drop. I do a couple every single week. So I'm trying to put out a ton of content around like newbie overlanding stuff, do-it-yourself mods, budget-minded mods and gear reviews, all kinds of stuff related to overlanding that are like, that's attainable for most of us, right? So I hope that that's helpful for you guys. In the description below are also links to all my social channels. So wherever you want to hang out, I'd love to have you come hang out. And last but not least, there are links to my Patreon page. We have a Discord where we all kind of chat 24/7. And once a month we have like a Zoom call where we all get together and talk about our rigs or talk about gear or life or, you know, whatever's happening. And then there's also the Newbie Overlanders Facebook group, which is totally free to join, and tons of members, awesome information being exchanged, tons of people joining every day. So if that sounds like a good place for you, we'd love to have you there as well. No bullying allowed, right? So come if you want to hang out in a new place that is not full of bullies. So that'll do it for this week's video / podcast. And I appreciate you guys watching. I appreciate you listening, and we'll see you next week.